Welcome to the lovely IHP paid and free subscriber community. For our paid community, our 5-minute and 15-minute episode for the 5D Collective No Virtue and How Disappointment and Unknowns Aren't Ends are online. You'll see the 5-minute lasts about 10-ish minutes because there's food for thought in addition to more on a bit of the cards that we got. And on the mindset exercises, the 15-minute is about 20-ish, okay? And so there's that. If you are new and you're not a paid subscriber, you find the link below if you're from YouTube seeing me. And if you're tuning in from one of the episodes that does not have visual, you can go to IHP, the main page from whatever podcast you tune in from, and you should see the link to become a paid subscriber. I will be adding content to that section, and at some point we'll also have patron membership where I will be consistently syncing the podcast. So for Patreon, once you became, if you do choose that because you prefer it, paid membership, then you will also see that I've uploaded a certain number of the free and paid content, just so we're clear on that. And I'll keep you posted. And for TikTok, we're going to have lives and a subscription-based model opportunity there too, so stay tuned. And again, let's continue chit-chatting about the 5D Collective. So the 5D Collective are people who are healed, which means we're securely attached, non-traumatized. That's why we have the capacity to use our thoughts and emotions, and that's why the benefit of the IHP-IG Mindset exercises, readings, and spotlights. And the smart therapists keep telling us how change works when you are a integrated brain. And so an integrated brain is a person who, as Sadhguru would point out, knows how to do this. He doesn't know the psych education. I just quote him because when he's quoting anyone, or no, when he's quoting anything and saying something, it's always for the function of child adults to have fun with. I do not know is an immense possibility. Only when you realize I do not know, the longing, the seeking, and the possibility of knowing arise. And that's exactly how, if you learn about integration of brain and your whole self, as Dr. Daniel Siegel, I have a course with him, Consciousness and Change, and as he shares, those of us who have the sense of self owned and the default mode network of our lovely brain down regulated, that's where I'm not scanning self and others, and therefore my body stays connected. So when change happens, I'm able to stay in my ventral vagal state, which is why I made the videos today on how you heal first and then you're going to benefit from spiritual self-help, personal development, because now we have a person. Okay, so when you own the sense of self, you don't have a face that can be erased, okay? So you use your human name, and therefore when we have disappointment, it's not really disappointment. When we have unknowns, it's not the end. The capacity to feel deeply, you'll hear from our 15-minute exercise, the depth of emotion. You're going to put into practice some of that, because it's when you can process anger, sadness, and fear with a securely attached, non-traumatized body, because you can activate that ventral vagal state. So if you're seeing me, this is a ventral vagal state activator, and if you're not seeing me, what I'm doing is I'm putting my right hand under my armpit and my left hand over my arm, and thus is activating my ventral vagal state. So people who are uncomfortable with the body and connection, they could use Dr. Amy and her therapist and more. So when someone says that we're faking it, allow yourself to remember, no, not all people fake, because securely attached, non-traumatized people are called boring by those who are coaches for the not securely attached person. So I'm self-led. That's our 5D Collective. We own our sense of self. And so no one can enmesh with you. No one can be in your space. And you will notice, as a mystic, spiritual, in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, when people have been in my space, I find it humorous, to say the least. And when I see those who are 4D, 3D talk like it's El Dorado time, I'm like, whoa, what year is it? It's 2025. Shit. Okay then. So when you hear a shaman saying, come to me, I will save you 20 years of therapy, no, you won't, and that's insulting. And when you hear anyone say that a mystic is a predator, not all of us are, no. And you know who's a predator? Anyone who is following 1 to 22, no, 7 to 14, charming. They're not charming. Anyone who follows those who think they know everything with authority, and it's very straightforward who it is, because they don't like differences. they don't like it in a way of saying that they know what virtue is. So they're going to say polyamory. It's the polyamory community and the sex revolution, which is why we have trouble. Really, is it now? I'm going to say it's because we have 0, 1, 2, 3-year-olds who have not went to get their first 3 years of life tended to. And therefore, they think that there's fake positive people. While I know there's fake positive people, and then there's actual positive, intelligent human beings. Integration of brain. And so the 5D collective, we have virtue because we expand ourselves and each other. And we expand from every single one of those aspects that comes into our life, because it's okay to be vulnerable with all the emotions. It's not okay for me to judge my brother or sister who has emotionally immature capabilities due to the fact that they have childhood trauma that they've decided they don't want to heal, as well as anything and more beyond that they don't want to heal, but they'd rather hang out with their in and out group and say that people cannot feel deeply. Unlike what people say out there, yes, we can feel deeply. The Zen master who has laundry doesn't know how to use his prefrontal cortex. So when you're in a physiological state of compassion, you own the sense of self, you're securely attached, non-traumatized. Thank you, Pat Ogden. I know how to metabolize everything that comes up. Those are the people who become paid subscribers and who handle change like I do, and who handle anything with virtue, because we know what fair and just society is. We also know how emotionally immature people don't want to do the work because they don't know how to, because they choose to ignore going to get their child parts reparented. We're not going to make anybody. We can't, even if you tell them. Plus, only martyr superiors tell each other what to do. And those are codependent people who also need therapy. Ruth Lanius. No trauma therapy is complete without really addressing brain, mind, and body, and really connecting all three. And as Dr. Amy on her The Biology of Trauma, our podcast, neuroception is what determines how you feel. So you first get a hold of all your child parts, then you will be having a good time with spiritual self-help and mindful loving and living practices, the toolkit, all of it. And also you'll be understanding why we have our 4D, 3D who won't be going anywhere. With that being said, so when change with disappointing or unknown happens, but you are a whole person, okay? You're complete. So you're stable, you have equilibrium, okay? And you do know creation. So I know creation both from God and then the Big Bang, because science and spirituality come together. Okay, I know what justice is. Justice is a balancing scale of the intelligent minds who are the successful entrepreneurs, the successful all of the ones who actually thrive. And they all know common sense, which is that there's no punishment in the sky or from the sky. There's a lot of stories I've heard, and recently I came across an amazing man. I'm going to have to watch more of this amazing man, and he is a child of God, and this is just beautiful. By the way, God is Discerning Equanimous Love, the chapter that I wrote in the book I'm a co-author of, The Ways to God. It's out, ebook, hardcover, paperback, okay? So you can order it. I think I shared something a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? Or maybe not. I'll have to share again. But anyways, so when you have those who have a good bit of knowledge, it's always amazing. But this right here, what I want to let you know is that when you learn about dismantling, what gets dismantled is something that is unnecessary, even though I don't want to bring us down that path. So let me hone in on relationships, okay? So that I don't have to do the whole big picture. But if you are worried about the future, what I'm going to say is let's take care of our air, water, and food to the best of our ability. And let's try to get more people on board with that. Yes? But not by yelling at each other, because I eat plenty of meat. And I do love animals, but I still will eat meat. Okay, so those who think that this means I'm a hypocrite, I'm like, sure, keep talking. Again, you will not see me flinch, because the most damaging type of game players are the ones who don't know they're playing games. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan. They're not damaging, but they definitely don't understand that they have a story for themselves, which would be that they're right. So self-righteousness with resentment. And in the meantime, we know that anybody who is still in an angry butthole, who wants to see devastation happen, could use Patrick Tiahan so that they could rebuild having faith in people by talking about how it got broken. And also that they become aware that they will not be raising their vibration or live abundance or manifest their way through childhood trauma. No. So exploring the past is how you get out of the past, and then you learn how to be yourself and love yourself first. That's where I'm at right now. Okay, so I don't change. I'm consistently Maria. I am a hollow bone though, because I continue to learn and I connect, and here we will connect. Our 5D collective comes on over here, and thanks to us having fun, we do know how to stay open-hearted. And that's what we looked at also in our paid subscriber content. That's because our mind stays clear, because we stay in our prefrontal, because we have actual radical acceptance. So we're not ashamed of showing our faces. We're not shy of being vulnerable. We're not afraid of, okay? So there's no fear in a way of there's no monster out there. And that's the reason why the 5D is different than the 4D and 3D, because we know that we're consistently expanding with the ascension energies, and that's from the beginner's mind. So I'm bringing to you spiritual self-help, personal development, again, sharing with you also stories. And so by staying compassionate and knowing about protecting the future, and me being able to be in my eustress when disappointment and unknowns have taken place, unexpected, unwanted, I will have had my chit chat with God. And then I will also let you know that I'm so happy I got trauma and attachment informed, because that's the only missing component that I had as I began to send and expand with clairs and my oversoul. And therefore, virtue was maintained as I did when I was a kid, which is I will treat any of my brothers and sisters with complete respect, accept them, and then I will know how to process that, which is anything that went down that was unkind. And I do it this way because once you learn about the first 3 years of life of anyone, you just think, wow, a lot of people could use Patrick Chahan and Terrell to become actual grown-ups, but they really, really seem to resist it. I wonder why. I don't wonder why, I actually know why. It's called that they don't want to go and meet their 3-year-old, and their teenagers being the superhero that they are. Adaptive child part people are a child's version of what a grown-up is supposed to look like, and they harbor resentment and trauma charges, and then they look for bystanders, and together, like the flat earthers, they make a group, and there's your in and out group, and that's why they got a silverback, and that's why they're all Peter Pans with Lost Boys and Wendy's. So they're not intelligent minds. They're at best mediocre minds who play it like they're big, but they're not big, they're small. And even if they have billions, it doesn't matter to those of us who understand how the world goes round, and that's because of humility and because we're not afraid. Again, no creator, no intelligence, no consciousness is going to actually destroy. The ones who continue to fear destruction, I mean, I understand, because they have not actually mastered their human secondary consciousness as of yet, with the humility of the lovely scientists that share what the first 3 years of life bring to a person. Robert Sapolsky, determined, come on in. He says we have no free will. I can take the human elements, which I always do, bring it in to spiritual and spirituality, and let you know God already told me what my brothers and sisters are. They're all like me. So you can have the kingdom of God within you, and if you do, then you will live a good life. And if you don't, well, you'll live the life that you chose. Doesn't mean that the earth and all of those of us here need to be afraid because we have, what, a majority that might not do it? These are the people who don't have humility and enough of understanding of, wow, are you casting a stone? Are you deciding to put into the forefront your percentages? Did you make up your mind of how many of our 8 billion brothers and sisters are good boys and girls and theys and the bad ones? Do you think you can actually give me a number like that? I see that you don't really go all the way. So when someone doesn't realize, as they're making quote-unquote statements of those who are all of people, I mean, you're forgetting your place. And you're also forgetting that it's not about a good ego or a bad ego. You're simply forgetting that you are a person in flesh. And then you're forgetting that you're a piece of that big consciousness, but that God, intelligence, divinity, it's one. And it's not you. And if you are actively an empowered feminine and or an empowered masculine, then you will sit with yourself in silence and at ease, and then you'll be resting assured that there is nothing for you to have to bring forth of fear to anyone, because again, the choice is simple. I'm a choice point for you and you are for me. What's the choice? Well, are you going to be a person who's vulnerable, open-hearted, connected, and enjoy life with me or not? And we always have had two sides of a coin. Are you going to be love or are you going to be fear? Which one are you going to, what are you going to choose? Which one do you want to vibe at? The higher frequency, or do you want to be a lower frequency? Mediocrity, lower frequency, is really something not impressive. And there's a bunch of different groups. Their divisiveness is not a threat, because if they're divisive in the way that I have seen them be, it's like entertainment to a person who notices who's actual leadership material versus who's not, and then who actually does know what connectedness to that which is a bigger picture. Okay, so if you're in love with a story, I'm trying to let you all in on a fun fact. Spiritual bypassers, savior complex people, they have a reason that their story is what they are clinging on to, and they've given you a face. They don't know how to be unseen and still know that they are very seen. I can be unseen. You haven't taken away who I am, nor my confidence, nor anything. You haven't taken away my relationship. I don't need you to see me to know what I'm bringing forth. And so it's a very beautiful place to be whole. The securely attached person doesn't lose their sense of self. Completeness, integrated brain. That's why, again, stability and equilibrium. Creation is that which God, creator, or dark matter, dark energy, Big Bang. It's the same. Justice is always at play, because karmic justice always takes place, because consciousness, intelligence rules, not the people who are in flesh. No. People in flesh, again, they get to choose what they're going to vibe at. As for the bigger picture, the stories that they bring forth are stories from yesterday's news, and they will bring it based on how they feel life and how they're looking outside. And that's because of, thank you, Amy, again. So as she points out, neuroception is what determines our response to everything. In any moment of our life, it is not based on reality. It is based on one's perception, which is why I am grounded in reality. Though I know any of my cherishable beliefs could be falsifiable, which means Maria's, positive outlook, sure, for all I know, it could be negative. Maybe it's not true. Guess what? I got plenty of brothers and sisters who are busy making sure to manifest, watching their fucking back. In the meantime, if you live in suspicion, always thinking everyone's out to get you, you will only do very small things in life, because trust is very important. Thank you, Sadhguru, because you're a non-bilaterally integrated brain that's in a body that is in protection. And in fact, in calculation, there's stress and struggle of the mind. In giving, there's joy. Again, Sadhguru. And here's Robert Sapolsky, his book Determined. I have yet to read, but I've seen a couple of his interviews, and I know what he says and how life thrives. Life doesn't thrive with those who are not thriving. Life thrives with those who are thriving. Why? Because a body in connection is a body that is in eustress. A body in connection is a mind that knows how to use two sides of it. A body that is embodying restorative embodiment is integrated, intelligent, capacity to regenerate, but above all, it's a capacity to assimilate information from my prefrontal cortex, understand it, not think my ass can fall out of my brain and all this other bullshit that you hear pseudo-intellectual speaking. And anybody who's, I just want the world to be about what is right, not what feels right. Wow, I learned that we're all feelings, but I don't tell that to everybody because they think that I'm a liar. Somehow I'm like, yeah, I'm pseudoscience. I know what I'm talking about, though. I'm learning from the smart ones. So as I change color, thanks to the sun going down, Robert Sapolsky, thank you for this. Your frontal cortex, he says, is the part of your brain that is the freest from genetic influences, because it is still being sculpted by environment and experience a quarter century after you plopped out of the womb. And he says, whereas most of the rest of your brain is sculpted by 2 to 3 years worth of experience. And as Dr. Amy points out, the neuroception bit. So when you understand the first 3 years of your life, implicit memory, explicit, you go get that taken care of if you want. Otherwise, you're going to think that people like me pretend to be happy. And then you're also going to have, though, the disposition of thinking consistently in ways that are of fear and sadness and anger from your child parts, by the way, because you are not a person who understands that we have human secondary consciousness as people, and that our subcortical areas and personality patterns and temperament all play a role. So for me, I definitely love life. I laugh because I don't want to die. And people make fun of me, and I'm like, I'm enjoying living. I don't know why you want to die. I'm not afraid of getting old. I treat my body as well as I can, you know. So again, empowered feminine here. And empowered feminine, anyone can have it. It's your body in connection, and it's your ventral vagal state. And your empowered masculine is an integrated brain. That's how I bring it to you. And then you'll have masculine, the left mode, which is really stupid when you got masculines around. And the feminines that are distorted, they get exaggerated. So the non-bilaterally integrated brain people, whether they're 4D, 3D, mystics, not mystics, doesn't matter. They're using an amygdala, their prefrontal cortex, or whatever, their cortex is flopped down. And I know all about the body and protection because it's alert, alert, alert. And a person who doesn't regard going to learn how to harness their body in connection is the person who's ignoring that they're doing themselves a disservice, not me. I'll know how to differentiate. I won't suffer life because I'm not suffering by the minute. Okay, and ventral energy is off-putting to those who refuse to welcome their child parts back. So when I see what virtue is for real, I know exactly what it is. When I see people pretending, I know who they are. And then I think, wow, but they're learning a bunch of information and yet they don't actually go and get themselves to become in a, you know, body that is all happy, because people are drug addicts of their own drama and stress. And someone says it's insulting, disrespectful, really, but they're not coming to you. They're just talking about you and your good education. And then they're not coming to you to get healed. So when you hear someone wanting, those of us who understand how it works, to not call someone a drama king or drama queen, I mean, we already can't use a bunch of words, but seriously, when it comes to this part, I'm just like, you must have your eyes, you know, covered up, because you didn't notice all the fancy people in suits who are telling all these people how the modern day therapists are wrong, and you haven't noticed how many follow them so that they don't have to come to you, as they're hooked on their shared fantasies between movies. And it's not because of control and all that conspiracy stuff. No, they're choosing to think that they serve a purpose bigger than themselves in a way that is self-righteous, with spitefulness and resentment, because they haven't gone to Patrick Chan to wait until they're ready to forgive what happened to them. They're spitting out their entire anger from what happened to them in their first 3 years of life. And the fact that they weren't allowed to be angry in home. As Gabor Mate points out, a child is meant to be able to have all the emotions expressed, be freely loved, not work one day of their life, and that's the 0 to 8-year-old. So when someone's yelling at a kid for getting angry and you're shaming them, versus allowing yourself to know that anger is a part of the emotional spectrum and that there's a different way for you to handle that. I'm not a parent. I don't want to be one. But when I'm seeing any parent wanting to shame an angry little kid, a crying kid somewhere, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm so happy that my Neapolitan heritage allows us to just yell everywhere and anywhere, because obviously, you know, you haven't understood that that is not embarrassing, and that if some child breaks something, doesn't anybody know what a child is? You expect them to be perfect little, oh, I'm sorry, are they supposed to be soldiers or porcelain dolls? Because that's exactly why it's just so clear why people have issues with their emotions. I've seen it more times than I can count, and I will not be talking about this. So, yeah, because I do know the parents who care, they go to people like Dr. Daniel Siegel, and with all their worry, and he's like, look, nobody's saying anyone needs to be perfect. So the ones who don't care, they send memes of how kids could get electrocuted and a father's laughing in a chair, which I would be like, that's not a father, one. That's a traumatized person who's carrying on with trauma. That's abusive. I'm not laughing. And when I see those fathers shaving their beard, I'm not laughing. That's not funny. Or I might laugh, but I'm not actually laughing. And when people say you're too serious, I say, well, you know what? I'm wondering, do you know what mass murders are? Because I'm pretty sure I know where they come from. And the fact that you don't want to admit it to yourself means something to me, which is you're ignorant and you don't want to believe in neuroscience, neurobiology, and mental health and all of that. So I don't have to be around you, do I? Because you're an ignorant, stupid human being who apparently doesn't know what science is. Science replicates again and again and again. I've seen the adaptive child part. It's amazing. No, it's not. It's buffoonery, which is why, again, when I hear people thinking that there could be some type of end game because of people, I'm like, okay, you're judging your brothers and sisters. You obviously lack the educational Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, in-depth intel on what a child is and how they become a grown-up, or you don't believe in it. I've had people say, ha ha ha, neuroscience. So when people don't believe in neuroscience, neurobiology, and they're not teachable because they don't actually connect to the smart human beings, or They sometimes do, but they don't actually notice that they don't know how to drift. Okay? So I know how to drift. You know why? Let me tell you a story, and then we'll go. So again, and this is for those of you who have the paid subscriber. I shared some of this stuff in our 5 and 15 minute. So I consistently chit chat with God and a lot of things. And what I can tell you is that an empowered feminine will know that whatever's being brought her way is something that will help her expand. So there's no level of resentment, righteousness, anger that would make me be angry at God, because it's ridiculous. Again, also ridiculous to think of this punishment, but I didn't have a monstrous human being parent. Okay, so let's allow ourselves to remember why my first 3 years of life are fun, and my twin and all of it. And so, yeah, I don't have a monstrous anyone. In fact, I got taught by good Christian Catholics, and that's catechists and my mom, and so self-agency. And so if you want science, I can explain science, meaning why there's no way in hell you're ever going to make me believe in any monster in the sky, because nope. And as a mystic and a channeler and a downloader and a person who's an Akashic record reader, I know all about creation, if I have to put it down that way. But, you know, I'm not one of those who thinks I'm anointed. It's with my subliminal messages that you can get to places, you know, because so whenever I'm seeing any of that, I'm like, oh, look, there's ego. It's having a good time. As I continue changing our colors a bit. So yeah, you'll spot anyone who's a teenage version of themselves, because the adaptive child part person doesn't own their child parts. I own all my child parts. So Maria can be seen, unseen. It doesn't matter. I know who I am. I know what I bring. I'm whole. I don't need you to see me. I don't have beef with you. It's not personal. I need air, water, food. I don't need you in my life. You don't need me either. That's exactly how it works for a self-agent who doesn't need to bond and who doesn't need to be afraid of you, because you didn't do anything to physically make me afraid of you. And I would know because I have a good gut. Bonding, straight shooter, those 3 subcortical areas. If I am somebody who wants to be your friend, I'll say so. If not, there you go. And if you don't want me as your friend, I'm okay. I got rejected at 4. No big deal. I know what ruptures and repairs are all about. It has nothing to do with my sense of self-worth. I will be sad, however, if I will have noticed that you did not choose love for yourself. Okay, so that's because of my entire oversoul. I know exactly who my oversoul is, and that is all my brothers and sisters. But there are 8 billion out there. I can't meet all 8 billion, so I will know of my immediate oversoul, right? We all know about this, those souls. If you're a mystic, you will know. You come with a group, you get to learn. I'm an Akashic record reader again, so I also did my LBLT. So we know we come with a group of souls, we learn things. So I already intuitively knew this stuff. And so I am in the desert. I've shared this before, and I am trying to leave the hand of a human being because I want to go towards the city, because I have no interest in the desert whatsoever. Now, when you look at this card, it tells you person's hanging out to dry. It's not fun. I get to be a bridge. Those of us, I believe in angels. Okay, so we don't need no Lucifer story, because there's no Lucifer. Those who vibe at a low frequency, it's every single one of our brothers and sisters who did not go at this point in time to go get their body in connection. Own your sense of self, body in connection, get to become all your child parts, become human. I'm bringing it this way, okay? And then we can talk. Become the owner of yourself first. Then we can talk about anything. But until that moment, I'm going to be not really considering anything you have to say, except for in one way: accept, respect, and love all people equally. And an emotionally immature person just wants pats on the back for me to love them just the way they are, and I will accept and love. I will not pat you on the back, though, because I will not allow myself to say yes because you want a sheep in front of you. I have my own subjective opinions. You don't have to agree. I don't have to agree. And we can be friends, tomato, tomato. That's what self-acceptance means. And it's also when you know that the minute is enough to be saluted. I didn't do anything to that human being. I feel no sense of guilt. And when the men said, did you say it right? I said, I didn't speak to him for 3 years. The women, you're serious? Thank you so much. Oh, you could have yelled at him in the face? Thank you so much. And then my mother again, you didn't say you didn't like him. No, Mom, no, I didn't. I actually completely kept my composure, which means Did I look like a snob? Yes. I don't want to be your friend. I didn't give you mixed signals, because apparently being friendly, smiling gives mixed signals to people. They think you're making fun of them. They think you're hiding shit. They think, I mean, really, it's ridiculous just how many ways any person will misinterpret without ever once wondering, why am I making assumptions about a person who's smiling? You know, like, why am I not just leaving it alone and allowing myself to uncover a person? So I don't actually make assumptions of people. I notice if I have my implicit memory, explicit memory, and my biases come up. I notice all of it, and then I say, okay, you can sit over here. There's no physical threat. So when someone from your past and more brings forth shit in your life, you don't project it at some other person, because you'll know it. That's what it means to be a person who knows who you are, and you expand and you're growing, and not generalization or stereotypes. So I don't assume, because that would be an arrogant asshole. Plenty of people are arrogant. Also because I trust my gut. And that's because I have a good gut, and I trust God. And I do know as a mystic that all my brothers and sisters are all meant to expand me. Above all, again, I trust my gut. This is the only gut I will ever listen to. And if it says physically unsafe, I get up and leave when it's a person. Other than that, I don't think of things, because God tells me I'm good, meaning that I won't die. And I'm like, well, hey, Sam Harris, I know that maybe my charitable beliefs are not true, but I'm going to believe God. So, you know, I'm going to take that leap of faith and go with the flow. And so with that being said, in this, I'm trying to leave just because I'm going that way. The other person's going that way, but the person won't let go of the hand. And in this moment, I'm also realizing, okay, so that means we're not done yet, because that is exactly what it means. And once things unravel in specific ways, now I'm having my 2 cents, and I'm like, what the heck? You know, and at the same time, I'm also dealing with some other stuff. And so I'm like, dude, I don't even give a shit about this stuff. But what about this shit? I can't do anything about this shit. And, you know, in the meantime, so I'm just sharing with God how I feel. I'm sad, I'm angry. It's like a fraction of a second and done. And then I'm laughing with God. And I've heard someone explain this very specific modality, and when people are talking about it in a way that is something that would burden you, this is not how it works for a person who's self-led, securely attached, integrated brain, body and connection. Okay, it doesn't burden. It's not laundry. It's a moment that you then laugh about and you share with empowered people, and they laugh with you. And so this is the disappointments and knowns being dealt with an open heart while going with the flow, the main modules of the Inner Growth Mindset program. And so again, a body in connection, an integrated brain, a person who owns a sense of self is a person who does spiritual self-help, personal development, and then enjoys the depths of the relationship with their own emotional plane. If you're a channeler or a downloader, you enjoy your relationship with God, spirit, source. You use whatever words, and you don't talk about your brothers and sisters as energy vampires, demons, dark auras, and no one has any entities or any demons attached. Because if there's one thing that a person who's supporting people to get to their well-being is attachment trauma educated at this point, and know, wow, we need Patrick McNamara. We need neuroscience, neurobiologists. We need a good therapist to work alongside. Like, I have a network of them, because I've asked all of them. I'm a mentor, content creator, I'm a podcast host, I do retreats, I do this, I do that. What do I do if I need you? Don't worry, you'll know. Don't worry, you're doing everything the way you can. So this is where you're responsible for what you're bringing to the table. And when someone says, I'm a healer, how dare you trauma dump? Are you now? Oh, wow, you just weaponized words, and you need a therapist, because that's called projection. So when I'm being upset, I'm not upset in a way of, oh my gosh, you're doing something that I don't deserve, or, you know, so this is that part of how people handle when things take place that they think they don't deserve. What does that word even mean? Everyone deserves to have peace. Everyone deserves to have ease. Everyone deserves to walk unharmed. Let me grab something that comes to mind. There is a Cherokee proverb. I've read it to you before. I'm gonna switch it up from gender to feminine, masculine, because we all have both, but still. And actually, remember, empowered feminine is the body in connection, empowered masculine, the integrated brain and mind. So you have the masculine, the left, and the right, the feminine connected. That's how I'm going to bring it to you. Maria's way. It's not, don't write down notes, but your default mode network is down regulated. So this is where it's at. Okay. So you're connected to source, divinity. When you're a channeler, if you're not, that's where it would just mean you have higher self in the lead. Scientists talk all about it. And if you don't want, you don't have to believe in anything. It's just your higher self. So you have a good relationship with the flow state. So I can break it down to you in all ways, but it's a person who's good with all of the emotions, so you don't get pissed in your pants, which is why you have equanimity. And this is non-reactivity, calm centeredness. You're discerning, wise, good judgment, and loving. Why? Because oxytocin gene hormone. And because your personality patterns and your name, they can't erase you. You're not a man, a woman, or whatever. You are, use your name. And even if you didn't have a name, this is when you have the ownership of the sense of self. So no one can actually destabilize the essence of you. That's what it is when you're self-empowered, enlightening, and you're consistently in a frequency of a body in connection. That's what wholeness feels like. So you don't change, you expand, you become more. And as an empowered feminine, yes, the empowered feminine, the highest calling is to connect the empowered masculine and or just to the soul. But I can't make it happen because your body is where you get to say yes to your ventral vagal state. Okay. And so as to unite the masculine, which would be the left mode with the right, see, and the empowered masculine, I'm going to say the integrated brain, to source. And that's where, as Dr. Daniel Siegel explained in his course Conscious and Change, when you have a whole sense of self, it's a verb, like Eric Fromm talks about love as a verb, and you consistently change over time. Because personality patterns, temperament, attachment, it's secure. You don't change, you consistently evolve. And so this is flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. When you are learning things and you're embodying it, that's why you know how to say, okay, every human can do it, but the ones who don't want to, I know who they are. They love their masks. I've asked people, when did you make up your personality? Oh, I didn't. That's who I am. Oh, yes, I forgot. So sorry. So my facade friend, he's a FACO, and all of the other people who are teenager versions of themselves who are calculative. They are envious. They are spiteful. They are resentful. They are all, and it's not. I stopped being concerned with cowards by the time I'm 19. The backstabbers that I saw as a teenager, I still see them as grown-up. It makes me laugh in my butthole. I actually think, wow, they're grown-ups. It's not impressive at all. And anybody who feels threatened by any of that, I'm just thinking, you must not know who God is, because, wow, don't you notice? Pinocchio, you got a bunch of islands going on. I mean, did you hit rock bottom 10 times yet? No? Wow. Yeah, and your body, luckily, at a certain point, it protects you, because God will protect you from, it's because neuroplasticity, the dark sides, FYI, if you don't know, you shut yourself in. So when I see grandiosity and contempt, I don't think, oh my God, nope. I'm like, shit, Dorian Gray eating itself alive from the inside out. Ursula, your seaweed dungeon is getting bigger, but they don't notice it, because you know what happens when liars actually become complete pathologies of themselves. I'm not even kidding with you all. This is something absurd when you meet people who are becoming just... Okay, anyway, so empowered feminine, highest calling, lead empowered masculine to the soul. And so the body and the mind, okay, so as to unite with source. But again, some people won't believe in source divinity, so it's higher self, and therefore virtue and values, and a person who's emotionally invincible. Their confidence cannot be eroded whatsoever. They love information, and they love assimilating it and sharing it. And there you go. We're having, I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh and live and learn, expand, and not cast stones, which is really fun, because, by the way, it's mental, emotional, physical mastery, and it's all in the balanced state. So we're living on the outside and the inside. It's not only on the outside, it's also on the inside, because again, a body that is in connection is a body that's using an entire brain. And I'm just gonna let you know that we will notice the ones who are not a body in connection, and they can look as fancy as can be. Their energy is going to be really, really small, and unfortunately every bit of their envy, jealousy, spite, and prickliness comes through, and it's like, oh, only they went to Janina Fisher. She would so be able to help them, but they don't want that. So the lowest calling And this is where the distorted feminine, yes, when people have unhealthy self-soothing, drinking, drugging, fucking, inner outer critic, there you go. That's dysregulated feminine. And when they say, I'm an avoidance, since you're picking on avoidance, I decided to talk about myself, and I'm not going to therapy anymore because they said I'm doing a good job. And they just tell me to do journaling and mindfulness and meditation. I don't want to because, people are fucked up. So why should I? Wow, lame ass excuse for not getting your health on a roll, but hey, I know they call us boring, us secure attachment people. I know why, but I would think that you would have wanted your health not being in your visceral and in, that yucky biochemistry of fear, by the way. But hey, let me not mention that. So again, if you care about your well-being, you say, okay, how do I work with what I got? There's plenty of specialists. I have a couple of courses that I need to finish up. I can't wait for that one, or those ones. There's 2, and then I have many more. So anyways, okay, so the lowest calling, the dysregulated feminine, therefore, which there's plenty of them, 3D, 4D, by the way, yes, they will seduce, separating masculine from the soul and leaving them aimlessly wandering. And so this is where shame, blame, fault, revenge, codependent couples and people overall, Diego's family, just to go and watch as they all have it in it with the emotionally immature stuff. They just keep doing Tom and Jerry. Okay, so all of that is where, let's go on Pinocchio's Island. So anybody who's doing the Pinocchio's Island thing. Now, the masculine, empowered masculine, highest calling is to protect empowered feminine. So again, empowered, not empowered, but I'm trying to make some points here. And that is that empowered feminine, empowered masculine know this. And so integrated brain people, integrated minds are the empowered masculine. And then the empowered feminine is body in connection with integrated mind. It's an embodied brain. You'll know which one of the energetic imprints you are, but you'll have both. And you will be closing out, if you are mystic, all of your karma stuff if you're doing Dharma. I closed out all of my masculine karma stuff. It is amazing to find this stuff out. So I'm at a 0, and I do know we all, again, bring forth karma, and there's Nana, Bhakti, and Kriya for the yogas that Sadhguru mentions, but meaning we take steps and our subconscious is always with us, but you're doing Dharma when you're a conscious being because you're using that prefrontal, so I get to process my implicit, explicit memory, get to keep on doing the personal development, spiritual growth. So again, it's not bad, the karma thing, it's just that the future on earth is Dharma. As anyone who's following the timeline will know, the ones who don't believe in it, doesn't really matter that we're using this word because they're going to notice, the future is where our scientists have proven our mammalian heritage is our well-being. So people are going to get integrated brains. That's why I told God, I said, hey, God, science figured it out, how to get the kingdom of God inside of every person, so they don't really need us. But, I really want to stay. So I did continue to do what Jesus told me and you and Holy Spirit. So can I stick around? Because, I'm having a good time right now, and I really want to continue to see how the future unfolds. Oh, and I'm going to make fun of the 3D, 4D. And no, I won't judge it a waste of my fucking time anymore suffering. I'm just going to make fun of them, though. It's okay, right, God? And so there you go. So I'm going to make fun of the ones who think that they're brilliant while being destructive. Yes, that's how it works. But we have news stories. Because, again, they're not Lucifers. They're just Cusco, what's up? Is it Isma? Is it Diego? We use those stories. So, yeah. Anyways, okay. So the empowered masculine will be protecting the empowered feminine, or anyways, that's what the role is, so that she can walk the earth unharmed. And that's the part of why we look forward to brilliant empowered masculines and empowered feminines. And then the masculine's lowest calling is to ambush and force their way into the life of a feminine. So they use the genders, and obviously as a woman, I can definitely know of what they're talking about with men and women and all that. But as a person of the 2025 year, it's not about man or woman. Do we have a securely attached, non-traumatized, self-led human being? Great. Now we got an integrated mind-brain person, and it's an empowered everything. And that is how this works. And so when you meet spiritual bypassers who think that they're the key to having the balance of every single one of 8 billion people, masculine and feminine, that's again a person who is motivated to feel that they are special and they have a story, and there's your human secondary consciousness, and there's your ego, and there's the part of where, for me as a child of, again, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, who's very clear, there's only one God. And I am not a servant in a way of obeying a master. No, I am actually in communication. And then I'm actually aware of what it means to cast a stone, and I don't. And then I'm attachment trauma educated, which is where Robert Sapolsky, even if he's correct, it's not going to make a difference in my life. I know who I am, and I know who the 5D collective is. And I'm sad to say that I didn't think 3D, 4D would stick to their guns, but today I know why. And you know why? You know trauma memory? Self-loathing, gut-wrenched, torn apart. It's right here, as Bethany Brandon Ruthlanius made me notice. And I got a little sliver of trauma memory. Very little, tiny, pokety-poke, pokety-poke. So, humility comes from science for those of us of spirit and source, because it's, wow, that was really painful. And I only have a little sliver of it with fear, because I know Maria. And I know all my stories as a mystic, but also as a human. And the freeze response, for all I know, it's the C-section that took place. And, Peter Levine explains it all. I got it all out of my system. So great. I had 2 Kundalini awakenings. And this is the part of where every piece of trauma charged memory unravels. But I never went offline. I don't have clinical dissociation. I know this because I know what it would look like, because I've seen it on a screen, and I've seen it in my classrooms, and I've seen it in a bunch of people who don't in any way, shape, or form go to heal, but they want to say, you can't always be on. Excuse me, come again. You do realize alleles, genes, ventral vagal state, prefrontal cortex workout, mindfulness, mindset. Like, don't you know what's going on out there with all of this lovely practices and health and stuff? No, you don't think it's possible for you to access your infinite higher human consciousness potential, like all of your true restorative embodiment? But you're teaching all of this. Like, don't you understand what you're teaching? Maybe I need to go somewhere else. So that's not all of them, but these are those individuals where I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be the expert. I don't understand how you're not noticing. Oh wait, Dr. Daniel Fox, thank you so much. They lack self-awareness, accountability, regulation, and so they're being liars to themselves by saying you can't exist, and yet you are the only human that exists, but you're teaching something that you... So this is where, again, inconsistencies are clear, because it's the emotional stuff that they're vulnerable with, so they have laundry. They get sad, and then they get mad, and really what they are is afraid, because we're all humans the same way. I'm okay with being afraid. I know I'm afraid. I'm a scaredy cat. I'm not ashamed of being afraid. And I'm not ashamed of being mad. And I'm not ashamed of being sad. That's what vulnerability feels like. And there's nothing that anyone can do to make me feel like I should be ashamed of being emotional. I'm a woman. Don't you know the stereotype? Which is where it's hilarious. Big girls, they do cry. Yes, they do. And so do big boys. And so as long as you can't actually be good with crying and being afraid and being angry like your child parts, you won't be free to be you. Because you don't know how to actually talk honestly about how it feels upsetting, quote unquote. It doesn't to me, but again, I get it because the evolutionary psychologist explained what the fetal position does. Our ancestors were eaten by bears. I still will choose a man, not a bear. But I'll say, can I pick them? I really would love to pick. If I got one, I know who I pick. I chose. I'm serious. Yes, I do know. It's no shadow of a doubt, because, it takes 2, to reproduce. I'm just saying, I don't want any children, but, if the world were over and there's only 2 of us, I mean, it would be very selfish of me to not want to have... Well, wait a minute. Did we save the planet with the air, water, and food first? Because if that didn't happen, then no. Because, we know that the planet... is the sun still alive? Do we have the scientists who are going to get us off the planet once the sun goes out? I'm not one of those who believes that this is a fictitious, made-up story, our Earth. I'm just letting you all know. Yeah, I don't do the there's no moon, the Earth is flat. No, I'm grounded in reality. So I would make sure. Do we still have some weight where it's only 2 of us? Shit. Okay, hold on. God. Okay, so we had a good run for this story again. Unknowns aren't the ends. Disappointment. We all have human secondary consciousness and primary. And when you have a body that is in connection and a mind and brain that is integrated, you got a good time. And when you do understand that we're vulnerable and that, yes, taking a leap of faith means when you're investing in each other, but that's for everyone, and that those who didn't get a good start, not their fault. It is their parents' fault, yes. But I can't hold all parents accountable because, they don't hold themselves accountable. And so on and so forth. So what we can do is understand that the emotionally mature people are able to hold space for emotionally immature people who are like Diego's family, that not all of us are going to be going no contact because we love to do effective communication, as Michael Yapko points out, because we also have the psych education. As Terry Real would point out, we're functional adults. So we're also functional inner child adults, and we do know what I do. It's my brothers and sisters. I don't need to be judging or casting a stone. He'll take care of it all. At the end of the day, I don't do biological root. I stay in my green. They can be in their red and their yellow. And with the healthy self-worth boundaries, you will have them recalibrate because you'll say, this is not okay. Nope, this is not okay. This is not okay. Okay, this is okay. This is okay. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. This is how it works. It's not, I'm a healer. How dare you trauma them? When I've had people in my energy sphere, all you do is this. Get the fuck out of my space. I can't even believe this is happening. And when you've had people say, I'm intuitive, I know what's going on, I'm intuitive, I said, okay, look, you're calling me a liar. I'm intuitive, you're intuitive, whatever. No, no again. And if you don't stop, I really don't know what to say. But again, friendship is based on you trusting. So whatever you think you're perceiving it not according to what I'm perceiving it. So please stop it. I thank you. Good. That's how it works, okay? So when someone is a mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving person, if they're 5D, they won't be saying to you, I'm intuitive, I know what's happening, because those are adaptive child part who automatically know everything without even once wondering, wait a minute, I got a body, where'd my body come from? No, how did I begin life? How my first years of life? How's my 8-year-old? How's my 16-year-old? Am I grown up yet? When you got a grown up, they're not going to bring into you this, I'm intuitive, I know what I'm talking about. You don't know. It's going to be very much fun because that's what we do here. Curious, open, accepting, loving. Nobody is going to be righteous, self-righteous, or resenting and talking about Lucifers and evils and Knievels. I mean, we use all words, but we understand that those who are traumatized and not healed, 1 to 22 Michael Stone Forensic Criminologist scale. For the mystic community of 4D, they continue to actually live in bodies that are not in connection. And so with their amygdala and the fear receptor and all that, they will have stuff. Plus they watch shitty ass movies as well, horror films, all of it. I have been to the lower planes, and so I can tell you, yep, I've seen a bunch of things. They didn't actually affect me in a way that was scary because I'm a 5D body type is what I call it. But really it's a restorative embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating. So the ventral vagal state and the window of welcome to emotions of Maria and thoughts of Maria and all of Maria. And you can call it the alleles or the genes. So, I mean, if we need to break it down scientifically, for all I know, I did get lucky. Like I told a friend of mine, I said, yep, we got lucky. We got good genes for emotions, meaning that people think we are pretending and that we have some problem or something. It's okay, we don't have a problem, but let's make sure. So do you have good relationship with all emotions? Cool, then great. No loss of time, no loss of memory, no like all of a sudden you come out of somewhere and you're like, okay, then good. You can manage all, great. And you're polite with people, awesome. So you mastered all, great again. And there you go. So we'll be back with more stories. Again, tune on in, subscribe, like, become a paid subscriber. And if you also are looking for other types of subscription-based options, we'll be having Patreon at a certain point and TikTok when YouTube allows tiers, okay? And in the meantime, free content as well. And the Ascension energies for July are going to be amazing. They already are for the 5D collective, of course. And that is the other thing. Souls follow each other around. To be continued, because otherwise I'm going to keep you for a long more time. But yeah, if you don't choose the love frequency, well, we'll be back with that one. It's not a bad thing. It's just something that I did notice. And it is something that, well, I guess I could talk about it with the different soul age groups too. I'll think about it in the meantime. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.